I'd prefer it if black men would date black women, or if they're going to date outside their race, that they still give black women a chance. But far too often, black men are like, I don't want anything to do with sisters. I'm done with them.
I'm a strong, independent black woman. You won't buy me a drink. That just don't work out in the club.
You're riding the fence.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're a strong, independent black woman, handle the business.
Man, a girl can't put a food on your plate. They can put Chinese food on your plate.
Women don't know their role in life. They're actually confused. They're frustrated.
Generally, I don't date men that have less education than I do.
Back at home, it's an upswing of, women taking on women as partners. Frustrating the shit out of brothers. So where do they go? How do they pick from this pool?
I came from a litter of 8. From all of us, all the women in my family, except 1, 2 are single because they all high education.
Everything's materialistic, man. If you're not coming to the table to help support that, then they want to posse. It's materialistic, man. It's bad back home. It really is.
Considering the fact that I only have a bachelor's degree, I don't really think that it's asking that much of a person for them to have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, because I intend to get a master's degree. And I feel like when you're trying to build a relationship with someone, if you get to the stage where you want to have children, that is something that you need to stress to them as being important. So if you yourself don't have a degree, you might not realize the importance of it. Granted, there are situations where, maybe you didn't have money to go to school, or, there are other extenuating circumstances preventing you from going to school, but you do still realize that education is important.
I believe education is definitely one of the things that is one of the hindrances, because women are being educated at a far greater rate than men. Most black men also feel an inferiority complex towards the women because they feel that they can't compete with them on the same education and economical level.
When you look at the economy of our society, we've actually moved from a manufacturing-based society to a knowledge-based society. And when you look at who's getting degrees, it's mostly African-American women. If you look at the information from the Journal of Blacks in Higher Education, 2/3 of African-Americans who are earning bachelor's, master's, and PhDs are women. And, and so there's an imbalance.
Have a number of girlfriends and friends that, have great careers, JDs, MDs, have all kinds of degrees, MBAs, and like for the vast majority of them, they're single. And the reality is, once you leave college, like that pool of available black men, at least for black women, that pool of available black men shrinks, drastically once you leave college. Going into the real world, either most people have gotten married or they're doing something else at that point. But normally, if you don't find that mate, either before college, when you're in college, the chances of you finding that once you leave school is little to none for black women.
A lot of this has to do sometimes with the women that we are involved with. Especially now with the workforce, with the majority of the women making much more money than the man. That then causes a problem with the woman, because now what happens is the woman wants to be the boss at the home and at the workplace. And us as men have problems with that because we want to also be able to lead in our household and take care of our families.
And oftentimes women find it, whenever they're going out to look for a mate, it's difficult to find someone who is, earning enough money to be their partner. And that can cause frustration, I think, in relationships. And I think that's also one of the issues that we see today with the relationships of African-American men and African-American women.
Should we be to blame because black men can't, catch up with us or aren't on the same playing field? I think sometimes it comes off as being angry or we don't get along, but I think, should we settle for less, or should we apologize for our success?
Some of the difficulties that some of my friends are having are economics, and those difficulties are coming from with the woman making more money than the man, and with the man feeling inferior in his own household. And with that, there's definitely a problem, because the man now feels as if he's now almost like a second child in the house, and women tend to almost treat their mate like one of the children. And that definitely causes a problem. And I find that, especially even with a lot of my friends, they choose to not even want to deal in those situations, and then they look to do other things and go other places and deal with women of other nationalities other than black women.
I have to take a back seat, and I have to, make sure that you're taken care of all day. I have to come in and be like, oh, honey, here's dinner on the table that I made just for you. I don't think that necessarily exists, but I think it might not necessarily be because, I don't think that it's necessarily because black women don't want to do it, but sometimes they don't have time.
In today's society, I think what happens is the woman is working. When she comes home, she don't want to be bothered. She's had a hard day. She doesn't want to really hear about your day. She wants to tell you about her day. And I think that with both parties working and with women making the majority of the money, they feel as though they don't have to give of themselves like that, because I'm making the money. I'm the breadwinner.
Money plays a major role in relationships in America, a major role, and that's a part of, and that perhaps is a part of the problem. Perhaps a lot of our priorities are in the wrong place, and family should be the center.
They want to feel that security. It's no different than, your relationship with your father. You still want that security. You want that comfort from a man. That's the number one. So like I said, if you want a woman to, cook for you, to clean for you, to do whatever else for you, it goes both ways. You want to be taken care of in that way. A woman wants to be taken care of financially. What they say, women marry for money all the time. That is damn true, because women want to feel secure. They want that, security blanket. I don't have to worry about my bills being paid. I know that he is there for me. Whatever happens, we're going to be okay.
I'm not saying I depend on you, but you should be able to. Like, I don't want to know that if I lose my job, you can't help out. If I go to work and I'm making 6 figures, I feel like you need to at least make 75.
And I also find that a lot of times in relationships, especially with black men, and they find out that they're having trouble with these women, they decide to go elsewhere and go to other places. I'll have several friends who just went up and moved to Brazil.
My name is Stephen Gregory Holmes from Chicago.
My name is Harold Motley from New Jersey.
I've been to Rio 3 good times.
I've been in Rio 19 times. I anticipated a poor and kind of desolate, beat up area with people living on the sidewalks and that kind of stuff, man, but she's not like that at all.
On what he's saying, a lot of people have a misconception that this is some kind of third world country. There are ladies walking down the street swinging shopping bags like any other big city in America, spending money. They have things down here that would not survive in the States. Like on every 2 or 3 blocks, you got a grocery store. And these people tend to shop exclusively in their area like that. That concept would never last in America though. We go to one big supermarket, if it's 6, 7, 8 blocks away. Here, everybody's down here walking, or something, and so people tend to shop in their neighborhood. There's concepts down here that would not survive in America.
Women are noticing that their men are crossing the borders to find happiness, romance, or even just somebody to have a good time, hang out with. They not taking. I know a cat that used to take women on vacations. He don't do that no more. He come to Brazil. Why? Because his vacation is here.
No, they say, I'd love to go with you, Harold, but nah, man, my wife is not gonna let me go down there. And that tells me, if a man's wife is not gonna let him come, then you got problems.
I know guys who would love to come down here, but they say, man, and I tell them, I say, you don't want to come down to Rio. I said, because if you do, you're going to come back thinking, how can I get rid of her? This will change your thinking of women down here. I said, don't come to Brazil. I said, take your wife on an Alaskan cruise, buddy. Don't come to Rio by yourself. I said, because you're going to come back seriously depressed when you hit the States.
The world is more like itself than people in the U.S. tend to believe. If you don't travel, you don't understand what's happening outside of the borders of the U.S. And that's why I call back at home the Matrix. They want you to believe that the end-all to be-all is what's happening in the U.S. It's not. The world is more like one another than the U.S. will lead you to believe. A lot of people want you to believe that the U.S. is the world, and it's not.
Yes, I definitely believe that traveling and seeing other parts of the world is definitely a key thing, because we need to open our horizons. A lot of times by being in our communities, all we see is what's in our community, and we believe that that is the entire world. In actuality, it's really not. The world is a vast, great place, and we need to get out and see more. You know, we need to vacation outside of United States borders. You need to see how other cultures live, how other cultures do things. You need to see how women are from other places and how they interact with their men and how they interact in society. You know, because we need to also see that what we're doing here in America is not the whole world, nor does that make it right just because we're here in America.
A lot of times, you know, the women keep themselves up here. They take care of themselves, you know, and they take care of the brothers too. A lot of brothers come here because they can actually, instead of taking someone with baggage on a trip, you know, with them, they can come to a place where they can pay a quarter of the cost, have access to the nice beaches, beautiful women, good food, you know, and brothers could come and chop it up and relax.
Well, I have several friends who have up and moved to Brazil and have found that the relationship levels there are totally different than here. They find that the women are definitely much more, I don't want to use the word subservient because that's not what it is. I would say more caring of them and who they are, and respect them as men and treat them as such. And it has nothing to do with how much they make. It has nothing to do with anything else but them just being man.
I see a lot of American black women come here. They hold their head down because they can't hold a candle to these. They can't hold a candle to these chicks down here because they take care of themselves. They sexy in what they wear, how they carry themselves.
I work hard, you know, in America, in the state, in the city that I work in, and you don't get embraced. I leave America and come here. Brazil's a nice country, man. She gives me warmth. She embraces me. I came here and I met the natives, if you will, and the respect and not admiration, but just the respect factor, man. I come here now because the women treat me like the man I know that I am. Right. See, back home, you gotta buy all that. I have to buy your respect. I gotta buy your time. You can't take a sister out back home in America, man, with nothing. You understand? To me, in the areas that I'm in now, a lot of the sisters working are gravitating toward, to me, negative guys. You know, pants hanging down, hair every which way. To me, that's not being a man. Right. If you can work, pay your bills, and be responsible, and be a productive member of society, then that makes you a decent man. Women don't seem to like that anymore.
I do think the Brasileiras here could teach the American women some things about how to treat your man, because the drama's just not here with them. I mean, even though they know we're transient, they don't come with you with all the drama. I mean, women in the States, within a week, I'm getting all the drama, all the baggage, and I'll be like, man, I said, we've only known each other for a couple of days, you know, and you hit me with your bad credit, your messed up marriages, and you know, and I'm looking at all this stuff, you know, and I tell women, I say, Women that'll tell me they've been married 4 or 5 times, I said, what you need to say is that you've been divorced 4 or 5 times. I said, that tells a person more about you than to say I've been married 4 or 5 times. Because I said, something could have happened to the guy, he could have died. But I said, if you tell somebody you've been divorced 4 or 5 times, I said, that lets me know that you got relationship problems. So,
You don't want to widow man.
Right, and I'm not getting into that, man. I tell women all the time, let me see your credit report, not your medical report. That tells me more about you than anything else. Anything else, how you handle your business, how you handle your bills down here.
I've met a lot of brothers down here. You know, I've actually right now, I have more friends here than I do back at home. Because half the time my homies back at home, their wives know that I live here, they know I'm single. They don't want their brothers, they don't want their husbands to know nothing about this place. As a matter of fact, some of them are forbidden to even talk to me. You know, that's the kind of, that's the kind of stuff that go on in the Matrix and shit, you know what I'm saying? It's good to meet brothers that travel, you know, like I said earlier, you know, I have more friends that out of the United States than I have in the United States. You know, what we basically wanted to discuss was like, how did y'all come to find out about Brazil and what brought you here?
Basically, a friend here, Manny's been coming for a few years, and they've asked me to come. I never came first time out, and I've been enjoying myself since I got here. Since I got off the plane this morning.
I started coming from a friend of ours. They asked me for years to come down here. The weather was nice. Hey, I travel the world all the time, so it's good. This place.
How about you?
Me, I got tired of American ski trip. I seen something, and it was time for me to go to check the Brazilian out.
Right.
And I've been here ever since. Mr. John was my first apartment. And I guess it was 90. It got between 89 and 90. I've been coming ever since.
This is my third time coming down. Some friends, mutual friends that we all know, told me about it, and I just wanted to come down and see what it was all about. I've been enjoying it ever since. First 2 times I came down was 06 and 07, and then it's my third time, 2010.
It's my first time, and I really want to see the big Jesus. I haven't seen it yet. I've been here for 2 days, and I want to see the big Jesus.
You want to see his arm?
I want to see it.
What is your opinion about brothers that travel and you know, why do you travel to places like here?
I like to experience the food and just to see someplace different than where I live and what I already know, and learn something different about the world.
Like you, I'm tired of the ski trip all the time.
I deal with the ski trip with all this Bam Bam, Virginia Beach. I've been Bam Bam. I did South Carolina with that beach, and then now I said it's time for me to grow up and be a man. Like the Corps said, separate the boys from the men. It's time to move on. I try to tell my boys what it's like being here, how the culture, how the ladies, how the food. They don't believe me, but they got to come for themselves.
That's right. So a lot of people, they live in a box, and then they complain about things that are going on outside the box. They put themselves in a box by all they know is that corner, that block, that town, that side of the city, or whatever the case may be. And traveling, experience different cultures, different atmospheres in general. It's like it's lovely down here. The weather is lovely down here. Meeting new people, it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's a good thing about the camaraderie. This is my first time out of the country ever. You know, I've did stuff within the United States, first time out of the country, and I think once I've made it here, I'll probably do a couple trips a year.
I've been living back and forth in Rio de Janeiro for the last 25 years. My first trip to Rio de Janeiro was in 1985. After I retired in 1990, I moved to Rio de Janeiro. After I retired, I just came down here. I started giving beach parties. Around 1987, I started beach parties. And a couple of guys came down and were looking for an apartment. I used to stay temporarily in apartments, so I said, hey, this sounds like a good idea. So I started renting apartments around 1987. And that went on to me open up my own business, Rio Renters for Less. And I rent apartments, hotels. I started doing parties and bachelor parties and other types of excursions.
Looking at American culture in general, and in Brazilian culture in general, and not in categorical terms. One of the things, again, what I can say is that Brazil tends to be a bit more collective. And again, the interaction between men and women, it seemed much more natural, where in the American context there's a lot of diversity.
Brazilian culture is a blend of mostly influenced by the Africans and African tradition. The African tradition is strong in its meal and is the food they eat, the songs, the music, the instruments. Brazil, the Portuguese brought to Brazil about 10 million slaves. Brazil was the largest slave port in the Western Hemisphere.
Brazil is more of a patriarchal society, where men pretty much are the head of household. There's a great degree of respect for men throughout Brazilian culture.
The Brazilian culture is very paternalistic. You know, I mean, the figure of the man is very important. So I believe the men are taught, you know, you have to find a wife, you know, and you have to be the man of the house.
I come to Brazil, I sit down at the table, I order food. Young lady places a drink in front of me, opens my straw, puts it in my glass, and I'm chilling. Doesn't make her less of a woman, doesn't make me more of a man. It's just that we have different roles in life, and she knows hers, and I know mine. Back at home, they got it twisted.
Why every man cannot come to Brazil and check out how living you should be treated one time in your life? Why every black man should come down one time before you be put in this earth to see how this culture treats you. Come on, man. It's heaven.
Several years ago, I read an article from Essence Magazine in regards to African-American men going to Brazil, and the article was not pleasant at all. It was quite negative.
You know, I recently read some of the articles written by Essence and Jet magazines giving black men a bad light on their plight to Brazil. I think that a lot of those magazines don't fully tell the true story on what's actually going on out there with the men that have moved there. I think that there's a bad rap given to black men in the media in general.
Let's do the math here. You don't write an article to put women down and put it in a woman's magazine. You want an article that's gonna sell magazines, so we're gonna put American black women in the favorite. And I'm speaking directly to the article that was written for Essence. If he don't write an article that shows black women in a favorite light, don't sell no article, don't sell no magazines. He lose a job.
I mean, it's been a number of articles since the Essence story about that, I guess, a year or so ago. Where I've heard, you know, the new thing now is Dominican Republic. A lot of guys are going to Eastern Europe, to Ukraine and Latvia, Estonia to meet women and whatnot. You know, black guys, and to a certain extent, I think it's sad to a certain extent, just because, you know, first of all, when you go to those kind of places, the girls that you're meeting are sex workers a lot of times. They're young, you know, underprivileged, underpaid, you know, very impoverished people that I think to a certain extent, you're almost like a predator, you know? You go down there for a lot of guys, or, you know, you're going to meet women, but it's really just for sex is what it comes down to me. You're looking for cheap sex with pretty girls, which is prostitution as far as I'm concerned. But, you know, I mean, the girls, they don't care about the guys. You know, they're there to get your money. They can smell American guys coming from a mile away. You know, a black guy I think they target you all to a certain extent, but you equate that with love, and it's not. It is not. I mean, you are paying for sex. You're paying for a service.
There's no facts to the article. The articles are basically a hearsay. There's no way one can tell how many black men was coming to Brazil for sex without doing a survey and a study and to interview and every plane coming down why these guys are coming to Brazil.
I read the article. Whether or not he's on to something, I don't know. But I just think brothers come down here for different reasons, though. Yes, that trade is down here, but to me, it's the weather, it's the beach, it's winter in Chicago, summer below the equator. And to me, I don't need any more than that to lure me down here, though.
Well, I came down here, he told me, he said, hey, sunshine, beaches, and some good times. And I jumped on the plane and came on down. But the article, I feel you should come here and experience what she has to offer Brazil, you know, especially or specifically saying Rio in the Copacabana area before you can put something down on paper and badmouth it.
Right. People that write the articles saying that they don't understand why we come to this place or any other place are biased because they've never experienced it.
Yes.
So how can you have an opinion of something that you've never experienced yourself? Right. That makes no sense to me.
See, a lot of times they have an opinion, they form an opinion before they got here.
Right.
So it's like, if you're looking for bad and you get here, you're going to see bad if you look for bad. If you look for the sun, you're going to see the sun.
When everybody heard I was coming to Brazil, you know, the first thing came out was something negative. Right. Well, why can't I just be going to see the big G's? Why can't I go just to see the beach? And then had a camaraderie with the people, because I work with three of these guys. Right. You know, we work together in Philly. You know, we're all firemen. Right. So why couldn't it be that? You know, why I have to jump to something straight negative? Yeah. You know, it's just me enjoying myself before my time is up on this planet. Basically.
It's not an issue until the black man start doing it.
and then it changed. The brown man too. Yeah, the brown man too.
This article by the people who wrote the articles on why black men come to Rio is racially motivated. They're using black people to do the job that their white owners wanted them to do. The essence is owned not by blacks anymore. Ebony follows suit. It's all about money. It's all about selling a book. If you look, there are more sex going on right in the local communities. There's more prostitution going on right in the local community in the United States, in Las Vegas, and all over. Brazil is a small percentage of guys coming to Brazil for any reason whatsoever. It costs a lot of money to come down here. And if you look at Brazil itself, Brazil in this millennium right now, Brazil soon will be probably the number one, the fifth largest economy in the world. Once you have set in people's mind, and black people's mind, and black women's mind, that their men shouldn't come to Brazil, number one, it keeps them from investing in Brazil. It keeps the black women from investing in Brazil. Brazil is on a move financially, economically. This is the place to invest. Look at the seed that's put in these people's mind. That seed will keep them from coming to Brazil and investing in Brazil, all because some stupid articles that really was just racially motivated and racist articles. And that's the way I see those articles on Brazil. It's garbage. It has no meaning.
I believe that a lot of what women are looking for today are superficial. Not only has it to do with the way you're built, or whether you have a six-pack, whether you have muscles, or a lot of it has to do with how fat your pockets are. Or what can you buy me, or what can you do for me? And it's not about what can we do together, but what can you do for me?
A lot of women have their own stuff by the time you meet them. They have their own house, they have their own car, they're very independent. So it becomes a matter when you meet a woman, who's gonna sell what? I don't want to move into her house where she's had her boyfriends. She definitely doesn't want to move in my house where I've had my girlfriends. So in a bad market like this, who gives up what? Who sells what?
Well, the society we live in, man. We live in a materialistic society. Right. You know, nobody wants to go to, you know, women don't go to the store now and buy a pocketbook. They want that Louis Vuitton. Yeah. You know, they don't go to the store and buy a Volkswagen. They want a Mercedes-Benz or that BMW. Everything's materialistic, man. If you're not coming to the table to help support that, then they want to posse. It's materialistic, man. It's bad back home. It really is.
I don't want to say that it's that bad. I mean, me personally, I love my beautiful black sisters.
Yeah, right. I agree with you.
I agree. And part of the reason why I'm here is because I love my beautiful black sisters here too. Exactly. I mean, they beautiful. Right. But there is a cultural difference, not just in Brazil compared to the United States. It's around the world. There is a difference in the way that women around the world look towards relationships with not just black men, but any man. Yes. The system that we have in the United States, the way the society is run, it's different. As far as I'm concerned, it teaches women that they don't need to be in a relationship with a man, whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're Latin, no matter what color you are. That's just the way that I see it. And I enjoy traveling to different countries around the world and dealing with sisters that don't have the same hang-ups that society gives the women in the United States.
I'm more willing to do anything for anybody. Right. But if I know that you got my back and I know that I don't have to ask you to do this or ask you to do that, and you want to just play your role and take care of things, because I'm going to play my role. You know, it's always a financial. I notice it's a financial. Like I said, I've been single for a long time, and when you meet people, it's like you meet sisters, and they seem to think all they have to bring is some cooking skills and some coochie to the table.
Tell it, brother.
I don't have to worry about if my lady go out in the rain, her eyebrows fall off. I don't have to worry about her. She walk out there in the rain, her hair falling around.
Right.
I can go up to the beach and hug a nice, beautiful lady and says, "Hi, sweetie. How you doing?" I don't have to go about it. My black women, and then you got to worry about that. Now listen, brother. How, when you were back in the States, how was our black ladies to you? How could you go walk on the beach? She got a two-piece on, nice as she is, nice, beautiful hair. Could you hug her?
Probably couldn't even say anything. Probably couldn't say 2 words to her.
Right.
You answer that question, Mom.
First of all, I couldn't even get near. You know, she'd probably be calling the cops on me or something.
I hear this all the time. You think we're abrasive. You think we're too aggressive, whatever. To a certain extent, I think it's true.
Women are insecure because their game is not tight. They know that women in a lot of these countries are taking care of their business, and because they fear that their man might leave them for something else, they don't want him to come here. They don't want him to experience it. They don't really want them to have contact.
And the easiest thing for them to do to stop that is to play their role. Play their role. Because they want you to play your role.
But you know what, too? See, that's a misconception, too, back home in the Matrix, because the role presented, how they tell a woman what their role is almost like saying that they're less than us. We're not created equal. We have different roles in life.
Right.
Most of women today are so superficial, you know. They are much more concerned about being beautiful and being young, and they are forgetting other things that also it's important in a relationship, like love, respect.
A lot of black women feel like if a black man can't pay their bills, then what good are they financially in the relationship? Unfortunately, I do think that is something that a lot of black women do believe.
Today, you know, we have unprecedented wealth in the African American community. We have freedom. We have opportunities that our ancestors would have loved to have had. We have opportunities to travel in a day's time to Africa, to our homeland. We can explore our history and our roots. We have many PhDs, many doctors, lawyers. We have we have the President of the United States, first family. And so right now we should be in sort of a renaissance. The black family should be exploding, and in fact, in some ways it's going the opposite direction. And I believe the culprit in this case is what I would call hyper-individualism. When you have a child, you're not single. There's two of you. Single means one. If you have a daughter or a son, whether you be man or woman, there's no such thing as a single mother or a single father. You are a mother. You are a father. You cannot think like a single person. You got to get up 2 o'clock in the morning that your child is crying. You got to change diapers. It costs more money. In other words, having children is a blessing, but it costs more money than being single. It takes more time than being single, and you have to now be concerned about someone else. So when I refer to single-mindedness or individualism, families cannot afford to be single-minded. That's why we call it single-minded. If I was single, I only have to think about myself. So I can get off work and go to the pub and go drink and hang out with the fellas and do this and that. If I have a child, if I have a wife, I can't think like that anymore. And we have actually some people who are unfortunately married who still think like they're single. Or we have people who are parents who think like they're single. This is probably the single most pernicious thing in the black community.
When it comes to countries as large as America and as large as Brazil, there is tremendous diversity. But I think it's safe to say, in general, and I'm not speaking in categorical terms, that Brazilian culture tends to be a bit more collective, where, again, family is the center of everything. America is known for individuality.
Not only Brazilians, but all Latin Americans very close to the family. We are very, very, very close. We have very strong ties with our family, which I think is different from here.
I think that we need to place an emphasis on the family. I don't think that we hold enough emphasis on making sure that our kids are raised well, that they respect authorities. I don't know what happened to the idea of, it takes a village to raise a child. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen anymore. I think if we got out and met our neighbors more often and were in commune with them, then we would have a greater community.
Either we have to get back into reinforcing the importance of education with our kids, the importance of family with our kids, teaching those fundamental core values that they worked not even 20 years ago. I mean, we're not that far off path, I don't think. But the parents have to really get back into being parents, raising strong kids, reinforcing those values. It starts from the home, To me, it goes back to what happens behind those four walls when a child is being raised, and it can't be grandma, it can't be auntie, it needs to be mama and daddy, okay?
Every child on this earth has a mother and a father, every child. If there's 6 billion people on this earth, there's 2 parents. So there's a father and a mother. And we tend to blur those distinctions. There is a father and mother. The only question is, are they in the same family? When you have a nucleus, a family, where there's a mother and there's a father and a child, that's a very strong unit. And I think it has some of the lowest statistics of homicide or suicide or incarceration, the highest set of scores on the SATs and all the GREs and so forth and so on. And again, I'm not an educator. You can sort of do the research on it. But you'll find that when you have an intact black family, the one I've described, their numbers are competitive with every other racial or ethnic group in the country. It's only when you break apart the black family do you start to get these other set of statistics.
We teach the children that, hey, you must get an education, and we need to know that since male children are falling behind at a larger rate, we need to put the emphasis on them. And we need to teach them and give them good role models on what a good black man should be and how to conduct themselves in a relationship that actually works.
Ones that's hurting are the children. And you can see that in the amount of delinquency. You can see that 50% of young black kids are not even finishing high school, okay? And you have absentee fathers leaving them.
Jawanza Kunjusu, if I can name him as a professor, he's out of Chicago, I believe. He says that we're raising our girls and loving our boys. And unfortunately, we're not teaching our young men to be responsible. I'm serious. There's a lot of work that needs to be done with young men. Because if we don't do anything, you can already see the imbalance. And the marriage rate for African Americans is at an all-time low. I mean, in the broader society, there are issues, but specifically for the African American community, it's low. Part of it is has to do with money.
That's a big thing now. Brothers don't like women that make more money than them because they say he who wears the crown controls the gold.
To the guys that want to feel like the man or whatever else, but when you can't pay my bills, you can't do certain things that I may want you to do, you know, I mean, it sort of goes like, well, do I really need you?
Unfortunately, I do think that is something that a lot of black women do believe, but at the end of the day, you need to also look for companionship. Money's great. Money will do a lot of things. I'm not saying that you don't need it, but at the same time, you need to have a companion that you can be with and that you can love. You know, just because he makes a certain amount of money doesn't mean he can't lose his job the next day and not be able to find another one. And if he loses his job the next day, does that mean that you aren't going to love him anymore?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that our priorities are in the wrong place. Money is important, but I think that family, integrity, self-respect, these types of things, these intangible things are much more important.
Being thankful for the blessings of this life. And then, if you are a professional, even if you're a professional black woman and the guy who you're dating is a bus driver, well, be thankful that you have a husband and that you have a father to your children and you have a home. And the disparities of who's bringing in what money, I mean, this is just money. This is just, you know, your money is not worth more than your husband. Your money is not worth more than your child. I mean, how much would you price your child? And having a good education for your child, and that child knowing who his father is, and the father's in the home. If you just value that, that's worth billions. And so you're making $70,000 a year and your husband making 35 is meaningless. But this is what we're doing. We're placing higher value on money and materialism than we are on the family and having a spouse and having children and healthy, happy, sound structure.
Quando eles vêm em grupo, a gente vamos para discoteca aqui no Brasil, aqui no Rio de Janeiro, para ver show, Rio Santo, a gente levamos os meninos para poder curtir. E também eu queria dizer que eu não sei o porquê as mulheres americanas não gostam que eles venham para cá. Porque quando eles vêm para cá, eles são muito bem tratados, porque as brasileiras sabem cuidar deles, entendeu? E também tem que, muitos falam pra gente que as mulheres americanas só querem saber trabalho, trabalho, trabalho e esquece o marido, esquece às vezes o grande homem que tem do lado. Aí eles conversam muito com a gente sobre as mulheres americanas. Eu não entendo o porquê elas não gostam, parece que não gostam das mulheres brasileiras. Por quê? Eles vêm ao Brasil, a gente conversa, a gente dança, a gente bebe e elas não gostam. Eles falam que chegam em casa, no país deles, e as mulheres são frias, as mulheres não querem saber deles, entendeu? E as mulheres só pensam em trabalho, em trabalho, em trabalho e não pensam no, às vezes, o homem maravilhoso que está do seu lado, os americanos, entendeu? Por quê? Eu gostaria. Eu gostaria de saber o porquê disso, o porquê dessa implicância com nós, brasileiras, cariocas, baianas. Eu queria saber o porquê da implicância, porque pode vir também, pode vir as mulheres, os filhos, e eles vão tratar da mesma forma. A gente vai pra praia, pro restaurante, não vai ter estresse sem problema, entendeu? E assim, quando eu conheço os americanos, assim, eu converso muito com eles. E eles falam sempre um pouquinho de cada coisa. Um pouquinho do trabalho, um pouquinho da família e um pouquinho das festas deles lá. Que um dia eu vou, com certeza, que eu não tô morta, e vou curtir muito, muito mesmo lá.
Vim fazer um pequeno documentário sobre meus amigos americanos. Quando vêm ao Brasil, nós saímos para umas festas e baladas. E é muito bom. Né? Eles são muito legais comigo, com todos. Nunca tive estresse com eles, nunca problemas nenhum. Ao contrário de alguns homens brasileiros aqui. Não sei mais o que falar. E quando eu vejo eles me tratam super bem, né? Saímos, vamos pra praia, vamos pro restaurante, conversamos bastante sobre lá onde eles moram e aqui. E eles falam que gostam muito do Brasil. Alguns vêm até morar aqui.
Sim, eu gosto dos pretos americanos. Eles são muito divertidos. Quando eles vêm no Brasil, assim, eles adoram o Brasil, eles adoram tudo. Eu adoro hip hop. Eu amo dança, eu gosto de dançar. E eu gosto do estilo que os americanos dançam. Eu adoro tudo, assim. Todos os ritmos de hip hop eu adoro.